Right, so I've got the bulk of the interior done, aside from final assembly of that now. The dashboard didn't come out too great. The decals did go down okay, but I think the surface detail was a little bit too pronounced to be able to get it down cleanly. In hindsight, I would have tried to lightly sand that surface detail down a bit, particularly the knobs, but I'll try and get as best I can. It's not going to photograph well. I'll wait for the birds to finish. It's not going to photograph well, but to the naked eye it looks okay. I did have to use a bit of brown just to touch up around here because the decal just got in a bit of a mess. So yeah, I mean, decals I am a bit hit and miss with. Sometimes I can get them to cooperate and I get really good results, and other times I do struggle. It's probably one of my weak points with modelling. Generally I'm okay, but if it gets too difficult to work with, I tend to fall down a bit. I've done the seats. I'm quite happy with the way the seats came out. Same basic process as I used for the cab. I did a little bit of black pre-shading in the recesses, and then I used the same colour that I used for the cab, which was the sail colour. And then I just went over it with a dark brown wash, and then just blended that off straight away. And so I'm really happy with the way the seats came out. And that's pretty much it for the interior, apart from just assembling it, which I'll just pop off and do now, and then I'll take some close-up photographs, and then I'll come back and we can take a look. And then following that, it'll be the sleeper cab that needs to do. I'm still in two minds as whether I'm going to bother with the interior at all, because I do plan on fixing the top, although I think it somewhat will be visible through the back of the cab, so I might still have to. So I'll come back when this is assembled and we can go from there. Okay, so I've got the cab assembled now. The interior is all in. So it's a bit hard to see on camera. Like, again, I will add some photographs. I still need to do a little bit of detail painting on the front, but the interior is all in now. The doors are still openable, so I was quite surprised that actually worked out well, given the thickness of the clear coat that's gone on. I was worried that it might affect the mechanism, but it doesn't seem to. A little bit, the fit isn't fantastic, as is usually the case, but I mean, I'm not going to be displaying this with the doors open anyway, so it doesn't really make all that much of a difference. So a bit tidying up to do here and there, and a bit more weathering to do on the bodywork as well when I get to that stage. So the next thing for me to do is to finish off the interior for the sleeper cab. I've decided I am going to press ahead with that because it possibly will be visible through the entryway in the back of the cab, so I'll just do that anyway, and then at least I know it's done. And then it'll be a case of just fitting that to the chassis and then moving on. So I'm probably going to end this video here, I think, but I may come back very shortly, so keep watching just in case. So if I do end this video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. If I don't end this video, I'll see you very shortly. Right, So I've lost a little bit lost track of where I was up to now, so I apologise if this clip doesn't make sense with the previous one, but I've got the interior for the sleeper cab done, and that's all assembled, and the sleeper and the drive cab is now fixed to the chassis. I will of course put some pictures up. Again, I've lost track of where I am, so I apologise if I've already covered this just a moment ago, but that's all fitted now. I will try and show you what we're looking at. Like I said, I will put some pictures up on the screen as well. The fuel tanks, wow, what a saga that has been. Again, they were chrome plated, so they got stripped off eventually. Took some time to do it. They were as stubborn as the rest of the parts. It took me 4 attempts to do them, and they still didn't go to plan. With the joint line, every time I was doing it, the joint line would either reappear, or what normally would happen is it would crack whilst I was sanding off. I don't know what it is about this plastic, but the Tamiya extra thin just doesn't seem to work that well with it. It does what it should do. It melts the plastic slightly and creates a joint, but it then, once it's dried, it becomes very brittle and easy to crack. I didn't have much more luck with cyano either. I did use that fairly effectively to try and fill the joint. I used it as a gap filler and then sanded it smooth. In the end, I just got fed up of stripping paint back and starting again. So after the 4th attempt, I just accepted it for what it is and just carried on with the painting and weathering as best I could. It's not turned out too bad. I will point out that one end is appalling, but it doesn't matter what I do, I can't do anything about it. So I've just tried to factor that in and just added a little bit of rust weathering to it. Probably not how they would be, because I'd imagine these were made in one piece. But the rest of it's done. It doesn't look too bad. Same with the other side. Again, I'll put some photographs up. So I've got these, I've got to get fitted to the chassis. Strangely, the instructions calls to put them on after the sleeper cab, and personally, I should have read ahead a little bit more. It would have been easier to put them on before, but that's fine. That's not a problem. I can get them fitted. Once they're fitted, I've then got the back plate, foot plate to do. Again, it's being a bit of a pig to strip off, but it's come off for the most part. And as I found out, once it's been painted up, as I found out with previous parts, once it's been painted up, any bits that are left over, they really don't show. If I was building this as a show truck, then yes, it would be a problem. Same with these. This would have been a massive problem, because if I was building up as a truck that you see at shows, which are absolutely flawless, that just would not have been acceptable. Thankfully, that was never my intention for this build. Otherwise, I'd be mightily peeved right about now. So I'm going to crack on and get these fitted and get the rear plates done, and I'll possibly get the 5th wheel done and fitted before I come back as well, and then I'll show you where I'm up to. Okay, so I've got the back plate done. I'll just show you this quickly. It's nicely weathered in to match everything else. I'll put some photos up of this because I just want to quickly explain how I did this. So as I said, it was chrome plated, and I'd stripped that off, and I probably got about 95% of it off, which was fine. what I then did is I used some matte black and I just pre-shaded the recesses, and I did a little bit of marbling in the middle, in the centres of the panels. Following that, I went over with some orangey yellow. Again, just did a little bit of marbling in the centres, and so that'll be on the screen now. And following that, some dark red. Again, same thing, just marbled the bits where there was still areas that I hadn't already painted. Then it's just a case of going over it. I used AK Extreme Metals aluminium again, and just lightly sprayed over that just to build up the coverage. And the trick with that step is you don't want it completely opaque. You just want to bring all of that shading and marbling that you've just done through, but you still want to put enough on that the metal look to the paint comes through. And it's a fine balance, and you just lightly airbrush it until you get to the look you want. You can add, depending on the look you're going for when you're doing the marbling, you can add some blues or greens, or even purples. It really depends on the look that you're going for. Following that, it was just final weathering. I used the Tamiya Weathermaster sets again. I used the orange rust and the darker rust, just to add some rust effects. And I also used, I think it was soot, just to add some darker areas, mostly on the footbed. And finally, I just went over the lines with the Tamiya panel liner, and I just dabbed it into the corners just to simulate a bit of grime and muck that gets built up. And that's all there is to it. It's a really simple effect. It doesn't take long to do, because you're not spraying the paint on wet at any point. You're just lightly misting it on, and it dries pretty much straight away. The extreme metal, I left that for an hour or so to dry before I did the wash and any other weathering, just to make sure I didn't rub it off, because those paints can be a little bit delicate, especially when they're sprayed on so thin. So it's a really simple effect. A lot of weathering, I've noticed, seems to be convoluted and long-winded, and it doesn't need to be. You can get just as good as effect with a really quick, simple approach, and it's all about layering. You're just building up the layers as you go. So I've done that. Excuse me. I've also done the fifth wheel. That's the rack that it sits on. Similar process, again, just a bit of pre-shading. Then I think I used steel for that. Yeah, I used extreme metal steel for that because I wanted a darker metal. Same with the actual fifth wheel itself. Now, to simulate the the grease, I actually used something I've got left over from my RC days, and that's actually an anti-wear grease from Tamiya for their radio control cars, and I just applied that to where there would be grease on the rack. You can see there, and also on the fifth wheel itself. And it's a bit mucky, and it never dries. It'll always be sticky because obviously it's grease. It's not designed to dry. But I just think it adds a little bit of realism to the model that you wouldn't be able to do with you sculpting a putty or something. I just think it just adds a little touch. So that needs to be assembled into the chassis. And then we've got the mudguards, the rear mudguards to do, and the rear fender and lights, and the mud flaps. A little bit more work for the engine and the exhausts, and the 2 stacks to go on the side, and the air filters. And it's just little bits now. And then we can move on to fixing the hood in place, which is just sat loosely on at the moment. So I'll get off and get these attached, and then get the mud guards. I've already started on the mud guards. They've all been stripped off and just given a base coat of semi-gloss black. I'm undecided how I'm going to do those yet. I don't really want to do them to match the body because that means messing around with the 2K clear again. I was tempted to just spray them with the red and just leave that, because they would most likely have a different finish to the bodywork anyway. Or I may just leave them black, or I may do them steel to match everything else. I don't know. I'll literally make that decision when I pick them up. So I'll get off and do that, and then we'll come back and see what I ended up doing. Right, so I've done a little bit more. I've got the 5th wheel all fitted, along with the rear light panel. I just need to touch up the chrome plating on that. I didn't strip that and repaint it. I just left that chrome because it wasn't too bad, and it looked all right. And it'll probably be the same with the front. I've added the Susie cables. They're just sat in there temporarily until I attach the trailer. The 5th wheel itself is just sat on there at the minute, so that'll let me adjust the position once I've got the trailer, because I won't know the position until the trailer's built. I did the mudguards. In the end I went with steel, and I also had an attempt at doing some mud underneath. I'll put some photos up as normal. It's probably my first attempt at doing anything like that, so it didn't come out too bad. That's the other side, and same with the underneath the front. So all I did to get that effect is I just used some Mr. Surfacer 500 and I just stippled it on with a really old and wiry bristled brush, and just let it dry, and then just airbrushed it various shades of brown, and I used a bit of the Tamiya Weather Masters on it as well. Like I said, it's the first time I've ever really tried to do anything like that, so it doesn't come out fantastic, but it doesn't come out too bad either. So I need to get these fitted, and then I need to start on the exhaust and air intakes. So I'm probably gonna end this video here. So yeah, I'll end this video here, and then probably maybe 2 more videos should be done with the tractor, and then we can get on with the trailer. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.